Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Sunday. Figured got some time. It's kind of chill and rainy here. My daughter's down for a nap. Wife's upstairs relaxing. And I figure let's just hang out and live stream for a bit. So I figure while everybody is joining the live stream, I'll give you guys a quick update as far as things that I've been working on here on my end. And then we'll just jump into discussions and Q&A and whatever you guys want to talk about related to radar detectors, dash cams, laser jammers, whatever we want to chat about. So this past week, projects I've been working on. Let's see, I've got the MPH Ranger Easy, that radar gun, just my camera here. I posted some videos on social media. Cool radar gun, gives you speed and direction and stuff, but also gives you distance. That was a really interesting radar gun to play with. I've got pretty much the main part of the video shot and finished. I'm now actually sending it on over to John at Redenso. He's going to be doing some analysis of the radar gun to figure out what kind of modulation it does and kind of how it does the whole distance measurement thing. I don't actually know how that works, so I'm kind of curious to see like a little bit of under the hood stuff, how that works. So waiting on him to kind of like receive the gun and do his thing, and then send me some more information, and I'll publish the video. I also did some testing this week with arrows. So different detectors that have arrows, Redline 360C, the V1s, both generations, did like all the different Escort ones and the Cobras and the R7 and all that kind of stuff. And it was interesting. I definitely saw some differences in the arrows. Things like, how well do the arrows flip when you pass the source? I noticed some of the detectors would show side or even backwards before I even passed the speed signs, which was interesting. Some sensitivity measurements, just interesting stuff. They all behave a little bit differently, and I did a bunch of passes and stuff. So I shot that video yesterday. I still got to spend time editing it and putting it together. So that'll be something I'm going to put together probably just next week. And other than that, still editing my best dash cams video. I had a video editor who was helping me edit that, and it really was not working out well. So I've gotten rid of that video editor. Now I'm trying to find somebody else to help me edit because, man, it takes so much time to edit videos. And so trying to figure out how to get through this stuff quicker just because the load has been a lot more than I expected, and it's getting kind of overwhelming. So I'm trying to get help with that. But my first video editor, don't have him anymore. I learned a lot. So hopefully find another one pretty soon who's awesome and does a great job and all that kind of stuff just to help me kind of get through this stuff quicker because, man, editing takes a ton of time. So anyways, I guess that's the stuff that I've been going on my end. Nothing too crazy. Been running the R7 today. Drove with that the past 2 days or so. Probably did maybe 3 hours worth of driving with it. And interesting. So good stuff. Interesting stuff with the R7 there. But besides that, I see you guys are talking about like Sentry mode on the Tesla. I haven't tested it. I've never really taken a look at the quality or the features and stuff. It seems pretty cool, but probably one of you guys who has a Tesla who's more familiar with it would be better to actually spend some time working with it. Let's see. Problem, the Tesla is not high definition. Tesla radar, you have a Tesla. Cool. Have you done a video showing the Sentry mode and the quality and buffered parking recording and all that kind of stuff? I don't need you to send me sample footage, but if you have a video on YouTube, something publicly available, don't send it to just me. Make it available for everybody. A lot of people are wondering, not just me, So yeah, please, by all means, publish it. And yeah, I'd be happy to take a look and kind of just get more familiar with it. Always helps for me not to have to do everything on my own, So I'm happy to see what kind of information you've learned too. Rayshawn, have you been taking a look at the Vantru dash cam? I am so far behind on my dash cam reviews. I still got to do reviews of the VFO dash cams, the A129 Plus, regular, Pro, ThinkWare U1000. I've got a Cobra dash cam in there. Think I'm mostly okay with the Blackview ones. I've got the VFO A139 that just came in the other day that I got to review. The Vantru ones, I generally don't really like Vantrus. The mount is the main issue. A lot of vibrations. I don't like that. The quality's pretty good. I don't like their lack of buffered parking recording. So I usually just find the Vantrus have much more stable videos and more features for the money. So that's usually where I fall with the Vantrus. But yeah, so I'm not super excited about that. And I've got a lot of other dash cams I need to get through. The Escort M1, I still got to get my video review of that up. So I'm very much behind on my dash cam reviews. So no, I'm not going to be testing the Vantru any time in the immediate future. Salman, have you seen anything about the 360-degree dash cams? I haven't seen anything that has good video quality. They usually heavily sacrifice video quality in the name of getting the 360-degree view. I did a video about that in my car. I've got 4 dash cams pointing in all 4 directions to give me the 360-degree view. And it's got some benefits of being able to see out the windows better than just one dash cam on the windshield or something. I have played with like some of the the next-based dash cams, which has to have one dash cam that points out the rear window to simplify that. But for full 360-degree views, I like having multiple dash cams pointing in different directions rather than trying to do it all in one. Bell Luna, how important is it to have your radar detector level? Yeah, directly straight. I actually did a video about this a little while ago. I tested a detector mounted like this and like that, and the range definitely drops if you mount it at an angle. Pointing it straight, it is important. I mean, if it's a little bit up or a little bit down, it's not going to like destroy your performance or anything. I mean, straight and level is going to be your best bet, but just don't do this. I mean, you see this a lot. We make fun of like the Cobra mounts and stuff. People who hang their detectors like they're trying to detect radar from the International Space Station or something. Just point it straight and level and then don't worry about it. Also make sure it's pointed straight this way. I've seen some people mount it like in the corner of their windshield and then it winds up being at this weird angle or something. So just straight forward and you should be fine. So as far as C is asking, do any cars have radar detectors built in? No, not really. These are all aftermarket things. There are custom installed radar detectors that go in your grill, and there's nothing like this with suction cups that hangs in your windshield. So you get basically this, but like a little waterproof box that goes in your grill. You can get a second one in the rear if you want that does arrows. Then you get some sort of controller and display and stuff that mounts in your car. My two favorite ones are the Escort Max CI 360 and the Redenso RCM. Take a look at my website. I've got information going over those two. But those are going to be your two best bets if you want something custom installed. They're definitely more expensive than these. I mean, this is the most expensive windshield mount. It's $750. Redenso is $1,850. The Escort, you're looking at $2,400 plus installation and labor, unless you want to do all that yourself. So the custom installed is definitely more expensive. Plus you've got all the labor costs too. But if you don't want a box hanging off your windshield, that's going to be the way to go. Salman, any info about the R7 auto lockouts? Still beta testing. I don't want to go into too much detail about this. We're on our third beta for auto lockouts. There's other stuff besides auto lockouts that are coming too, which is going to be really great. But of course, I know auto lockouts are the big thing that everybody's hoping for, myself included. Still in development. But yeah. RB, best radar detectors for undetectable in Canada, something with long-range performance. So in Canada, the two best stealth detectors for windshield mounts are, well, I guess, going to be the ones I have here. V1 Gen 2 and Redline 360C, undetectable by radar detector detectors. This does not detect multi-radar that we see in a number of provinces in Canada, especially in Alberta. This just got an update, which made the MRCD stuff that you'll need in Canada much better. So now this is actually a viable choice. Up to this point, I think the best pick has been the Redenso Pro M, or maybe even the RCM, the custom installed version, because if you don't want a box like this mounted on your windshield, the RCM is usually going to be your go-to choice for good performance, BSM filtering, and the MRCD specifically. If you want a windshield mount, the Escort Redline 360C would be good. I think they just started shipping into Canada. There's some availability issues. I know Alex on kmph.ca has had a couple. I think they were mostly on pre-order and stuff. I don't know if they're readily available yet. They're expensive too with the Canadian dollar conversion and stuff, but I guess that could be an option. But the Redenso Pro M for a windshield mount has kind of been the go-to solution for Canada. Let's see. Rayshawn K. Did you see the Gentex rear view dash cam at this year's CES? Was there anything special about it? I haven't really been that excited about rear view mirror dash cams. I generally don't like the way they look. They're fine, I guess. I've been thinking about putting one in my mom's car just to do a video and to test one and stuff, but I generally don't like rear view mirror dash cams, just the style in general, especially because I like the design in my Audi of those, and I find the other ones kind of cheapy and ugly, so I don't usually mess with those. But yeah, CES and SEMA were kind of flops this year. Just, I appreciate them trying to do it virtually and stuff. That was, I mean, I guess better than not having the shows at all with the pandemic, but it was hard to find products. There were a lot of companies who didn't go. There was, I think Escort was the only radar detector company at CES, and they didn't have anything new to announce. As far as dash cams, I mean, a lot of the big companies didn't go. There's a lot of just like random Chinese companies that go to the shows, and usually they're just like, hey, we got a dash cam, it's a box or it's a rear view mirror thing or whatever. And you're like, okay. I mean, there's a million different dash cam companies, but there's very few that have something kind of interesting and novel and unique other than just a box that mounts on the windshield or something that's built into a rear view mirror. Like, usually there's not a ton that are like, oh, this is something cool and special and not just another Me Too, you know? A 3-channel dash cam. Cool, I guess. Is there anything special about it other than just it's a dash cam? I'm kind of curious about that. Sean, oh, interesting. I tested the ALP and the TMG yesterday. Wild ride. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you saw in your testing? I'm definitely curious. The more test results we get, the better, of course. Let's see. Salman Khan. Do you pronounce it Salman or Salman? I want to pronounce it correctly here. Recently had my R7 give me a KA alert from the Valentine 1. By moving, did your V1 cause your R7 to false? Like that definitely happens. I've seen my detectors actually false each other when I'm trying to run two at the same time too. It's problematic. But yeah, by moving around the car, I figured it was him. It's on a long drive. You heard of this happening? Do you mean specifically like, yeah, one detector falsing another? It happens. I mean, even these two detectors, which are stealth, you run both of these in the car, one detector is going to cause the other one to false. I forget which one. I think it's the red line that falses the V1, but they do cause each other to false, even though they're both two of the most stealthy detectors out there. So yeah, two detectors at the same time, not a good idea. People try it all the time anyway, despite the warnings. Yes, you're going to have problems. So yeah. False alert from another car. That usually doesn't happen. Usually it's going to be your Cobras and Whistlers and more leaky detectors. It's surprising to hear an R7 in another car causing your V1 to false. But that's pretty rare. Thea, of course. Everybody's going to want to know about Thea. No news on Thea. All we have is what Redenso had posted towards the end of the year last year with COVID delays as far as, stuff. I don't know anything that you guys know as far as that. We're all waiting. Everybody's excited, of course. It sounds awesome, but we're waiting on that. We're waiting on R7 lockouts. We're just waiting on stuff. So, we're waiting. I'm waiting on trying to find a good video editor. This stuff is taking me longer to get my videos posted. Clint has an interesting question. Any success stories or lessons learned about your recent attempts to protect some family time? At this point, I've just kind of been acknowledging and admitting to myself that this takes longer than I want. I mean, just with pandemic, with having a baby at home, with having less time to work, everything taking longer, it's really easy to like try to respond to every single question I get on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and email and YouTube comments and pump out videos and stay on top of everything and edit and forums and private sessions. And it's so much stuff that at this point, I'm just like, screw it. I mean, it's going to take me forever to get stuff posted, and that's just the way it's going to be in the meantime, especially trying to do all this with myself. So I can't do everything, and I've just kind of been coming to terms with that, and it sucks because I really want to – there's so much stuff I want to get done. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm behind on dash cam stuff, and oh, well, I just can't do everything, so okay. Bruce, any word on the R9? Nope. There's other stuff with R7 stuff too. Yeah, Tesla Radar, if you're interested in helping me edit videos, shoot me a message. I'm definitely looking for a paid position for somebody to help me edit. Let me know. Let's talk. I've been talking to a couple people on Twitter, and definitely something I'm interested in. But I know you have your YouTube channel as well, and if you've got experience editing for YouTube, obviously that's great, as opposed to somebody who edits for whatever else, and you're obviously familiar with dashcam, so that's a plus too. So shoot me a message. Let's talk. Just me. Do you ever see the Washington State Patrol using laser or radar when it's raining? Absolutely. They definitely run countermeasure, or they run speed enforcement even when it's rainy. Both radar and laser. So yes, it happens. And the laser guns have poor weather mode designed to be run in the rain and stuff. So yeah, they definitely do it. Hey, what's up, Haywood? Good to see you. Glad you're here. And we were just talking about like Canada stuff. So maybe you could give your insight on the best radar detector for Canada. I know you've been doing some testing with the Redline 360C with the new MRCD stuff. I'm kind of curious on your take on, Pro M versus Redline 360C now that the Redline's MRCD is a lot better. It's kind of closer to the Pro M. So curious. What's my Twitter? Vortex Radar. Simple, easy to guess. Same thing with Facebook and Instagram. Trevor, cool question. Do you have any experience with the aircraft speed traps or any of those weird East Coast tricks? Yeah, so I ran a scanner for a while to listen to the police on the radios, and they're like, vehicle in lane 1 doing 87, whatever, lane 1, begin your roll, whatever, that kind of stuff. I didn't like the scanner stuff just because I would listen to so much stuff with them talking about like DUIs and all the abuse that they got to deal with domestic violence and break-ins and all that stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to be listening to all that stuff when I'm driving, you know? It definitely gave me a new appreciation for the police and everything that they're doing to keep us safe and all. But yes, you can listen to like aircraft enforcement when they're out. I've actually found JBV1 or Highway Radar, some of the apps, to be one of the best sources for that kind of stuff. They can monitor the planes up ahead, and they can actually alert you to the chase cars on the ground below. So that's one of the best things I found. I know some people have looked into like ADS-B monitoring and stuff with the Xeon MRX or whatever, the ZTRX. I forget what the things are called. One's discontinued, but yeah, the apps I found actually to be one of the best resources for all that. Aman, what's a good place to mount a Redline 360C on a Tesla? If you can mount it on the windshield, great. I know some Teslas have like radar blocking and absorbing windshields, so you just can't mount it anywhere, and you're going to have to do something custom installed. Some Teslas have that issue. Others are totally fine. I don't know if Teslas have a little cutaway in the windshield where you can mount any detector. But yeah, I mean, it just comes down to your windshield if you can mount the detector in the first place. If not, you're going to have to go for something custom installed. Haywood. So a follow-up on the Canadian best detector question. Right now, the Redline 360C seems to have better range, but the ramp-up needs work. That makes sense. Is the ramp-up really important for the MRCD, or you're just like, hey, it's detecting MRCD, I should slow down? And I know there's no arrows. I know the RCM, I believe, can actually give you the arrows, and it has the ramp-up. Is that really important for the MRCD because it's kind of hard to see those trucks sometimes, or because they're marked, it's okay? I'm kind of curious about that. Scar, what's the best budget radar detector that works against the LTI 2020? Nothing. Ignore the radar detectors. Get a laser jammer. Like, radar detectors are the wrong tool against laser, no matter how much money you're willing to spend. Like, get a laser jammer. Save your money on your radar detector. Get a unit in R7 or an R3 or something. Or sorry, DFR7 or R3. Get one of those, and then put the rest of your money to a laser jammer. Against the LRB, a TMG works fine. It's not a particularly tough laser gun to jam. LRB, it's a pretty straightforward gun. So anything from, Escorts, probably K40 can jam this thing too. I don't know if I've done testing with this yet. I think I got it after I did my last test, but it's a straightforward gun to jam. So maybe get a TMG to save your money if this is the toughest thing that you face. And then inexpensive laser jammer and get a radar detector like the R3 or DFR7 or something. I've got links to those. If you look in the video description, I've got links to like the best radar detectors, different price points, best laser jammers. Just click down there and you'll find more information about all those. Roy Quitter, with the way airplane fuel prices have been going in recent years, do police even still use that method? I believe so. I've seen reports on the forums and stuff. Maybe it varies depending on departmental budgets and stuff in different parts of the country, but as far as I'm aware, different departments still use it. Let's see. Trevor just got back from a group motorcycle ride and spotted an adaptive TPX on a friend's bike. Awesome. He loves that thing. That's good to hear. Yeah. I'm glad to see that people are using it and testing it. That performs surprisingly well, and it's nice to see a motorcycle-specific option. So I'm glad to hear that he likes it too. Jason, hey, thanks so much for the super chat donation. I appreciate that. So ALP, Canadian weather approved. Great question. Any damage noticed with rocks, chips, or scuffing? I've actually seen some people specifically build like a special like protective housing and covers and stuff for the ALP to help protect about this stuff. I know in like Edmonton, I believe they use gravel instead of salt when it gets really snowy and you guys have like cracked windshields and stuff all the time. So I've heard of that happening and people looking for covers. If you're interested in that, search on the forums. That's like a totally custom aftermarket homebrew thing. I don't have a link handy. If anybody has the link handy, maybe post it in the chat. I've seen people doing that. With the cold and stuff, sometimes it could be an issue, but I think it's okay. I think the Canadians would probably be your best point or best people to ask when it comes to like super specific things like in Canada like that. I know sometimes there's been questions with like water intrusion with different older versions of the hardware going through maybe car washes and stuff. I've seen it from time to time, but it doesn't seem to be super widespread. Let's see. Mike Thomas. Oh, this is a fun question. Why do radar detector manufacturers add laser detection if it's worthless? That's such a funny question. And honestly, I think it's nothing more than a marketing thing, because everybody wants to say, like, look at all these features. We have instant on detection. That's not a thing, but sure, we have instant on detection. We have laser detection. Not that it's going to save you from a ticket. We can detect pop radar. Who cares? Whatever. Like, a lot of this stuff is just, it's honestly stupid, ridiculous marketing things that most people who don't know anything about radar detectors are like, wow, look at all these features. It can detect instant on guns, as if that's a thing. It can detect laser. Who cares? And you're like, I was thinking about this on the drive home of maybe doing a video on, like, here's the features that actually matter in a radar detector. Here's the ones, just ignore it. It's stupid. For laser, get a laser jammer. But I guess realistically, a lot of times it's not expensive to get a laser sensor and throw it in and say you can detect laser. Cool. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who don't know better that would be like, well, I want something that can detect radar. I want something that can detect laser. I want something that can detect all 19 bands of radar, like Cobra's advertise. It's just a marketing thing. And I know there's people who are like, hey, I would rather have the laser sensor and to let me know when I'm getting shot, even though it's not going to save me from a ticket. And you definitely hear the stories of people who they got shot with laser and they slowed down, and it was helpful to have it. Totally how that can happen, but like, it's mostly a marketing thing. I know Redenso was even talking about removing laser sensitivity altogether from Thea, but then it was just like, I will add it for a couple bucks or whatever it costs, and it's mostly a marketing thing. So realistically, that's what it is, especially rear laser detection. Front, I could see being more helpful, but not so much rear. Ryan, thanks, Ryan, for the super chat. So who uses radar detector detectors? Only places where it's illegal to run radar detectors and CMV enforcement? Good question. So typically those are used where radar detectors are illegal. So Ontario, Virginia, things like that. I know a lot of places in Australia, they'll use RDDs down there too. And it's primarily, of course, meant to find people running radar detectors. I've even seen it run in places where radar detectors are typically legal. Like I've heard in Texas, the Highway Patrol may run them down there, specifically looking to find radar detectors in commercial vehicles. So they're looking for semis that are running them. And so I've actually heard of them doing that, even though radar detectors are legal in Texas. For semis, they're not. So yeah, kind of something interesting there. Let's see. Okay. So I wanted to go back to Haywood. I know we were talking about the Canadian RCM stuff. Okay, yes and no, personal preference. I like the ramp up of the RCM because of how it's implemented to find the things in the dark. Oncoming traffic lights in your face, off to the side. So, okay, basically the ramp up is helpful to find these trucks that are hidden in the dark. That makes sense. Especially if these things are going to fall sometimes. It's kind of nice, I guess, to have the ramp up to make it easier to find these things, or I guess to see if it's even a legitimate source. Brian E. Oh, I'll go back to Haywood. No different than having situational awareness for a normal radar detector, not like LiDAR where it's instantaneous. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. It's still helpful to have a ramp up. I can see that. Brian, pretty sure Thea is supposed to be able to detect IO. Yes and no. Thea is able to let you know that this is instant on specifically and not just a weak blip of normal constant on that's kind of coming and going because it's at a distance. It can actually see the radar gun powering on, and it can tell you this is instant on specifically. That's what the Thea's IO feature can do. Otherwise, every radar can technically detect instant on. All instant on is a radar stops transmitting and then it starts transmitting. That's instant on. And then when it starts transmitting, if a detector detects that a radar signal is present, it's going to start alerting. Thea can tell you specifically this is instant on, as opposed to just a normal traditional alert that you get with any other radar detector. So that's kind of the nuance that you get with Thea. That feature is called the IO Scout. So, but yeah, good point of clarification on that. Tom Thumb, any plans to try out the TrueCam 2, seeing laser jammer heads? That would be cool. It's not available here in the US. If anybody has access to one and wants to send it to me, send it over. Let me know. I'll be happy to take a look at it. But I don't have any immediate plans to test it. But yeah, if I get a hold of one, sure, I'd be happy to do a video. Let's see. CRDBR. Do you think K-band will be slowly phased out? I don't think so. We're seeing some, I would love to see it be phased out, but we're seeing some like newer, lower powered K-band antennas from MPH, from Stalker, things like that, where they're using K-band, and usually the lower priced radar guns, like the Stalker Patrol, for example, it uses smaller K-band antennas. And so if you're on a budget, they may actually want to go for some of the K-band antennas there. We're also seeing a lot of the photo radar stuff, multi-radar, gap zone, mass diffusion. Those also transmit on K-band too. They're different K-band signals with their polarization and modulation and whatnot, but they operate on K-band as well. So I don't see it necessarily being phased out, as cool as that would be. I know people like to sometimes say it's older technology, which isn't completely true. Maybe X-band, yes, but I don't really see K-band being phased out. It would be cool, though. It'd be great for sure. Ian, any word on Max 3 updates? Not really. It seems like Escort's been focusing on like the Redline 360C has had some updates recently. K-Notch being brought over to like the Max 360, the Max 3, the Max 360C. So they've been focusing on more of that. Interestingly, it looks like the Max CI has sort of been left out. I don't think has K-Notch available yet. I would love to see them bring over the feature for that detector too. I was running that recently, and sure enough, getting 24198, 24201, your Hondas and your Chrysler Pacificas and stuff. I would love to see them bring that same feature over to help quiet down the Max CI. And the 6-head bridge box and Wi-Fi. Like, please bring that over. That would, yeah, come on, bring that over. But that's sort of been, I guess, on the back burner. And then as far as the Max 3, I mean, I guess they had some updates recently, but nothing super new about that. Yeah. Yeah, Haywood, you're right. The K-band patch antennas, they take up less room. They do. And they can hide in heavily K-band polluted areas. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's one of the nice things for officers is the smaller patch antenna technology. They're smaller than your traditional circularly polarized antennas. Like if you look at something like this, these traditional antennas, here's a Ka-band antenna from Stalker. The patch antennas are like half the size or so. So that's kind of nice. I guess is a benefit to officers. Chris, hey, thanks for the super chat donation, Chris. I appreciate that. Fat Vet, is there a way to make the Max 360C louder? Turn up the volume? Other than that, I think there's a headphone jack. You could always plug in an external speaker. Grab mine real quick. If you look at the sides of the detectors, there's like a little rubber cap right here, right next to the power port. And I believe if you pop this out, it's just a headphone jack. I'm trying to get this off. Cap. Little rubber cap. Where is it? There we go. It's a little headphone jack right there. So if you're finding the volume is too quiet, you can always plug in a headphone jack. I don't know if these ones are compatible with stereo headphones. I know there was an issue with the original Redline where these were mono outputs. And if you plug in a stereo output, it would cause issues. I don't know if that's still the case with the newer ones. Hopefully they fix that. But yeah, that's the solution. If you need something louder, just plug in something like that. Hey, Dashcam Revenge. Thanks for the super chat donation. Appreciate that. Yeah, so I guess that would be the best solution for that. Okay, so Chris D, does a new TMG VPR CPU, is it worth it when it comes jamming hard to jam LiDAR guns? So that's an interesting question. You're going to see a lot of mixed information on this. In my opinion, if you're on a budget, okay, I get it, but laser jammers they're difficult to replace and upgrade as needed, and I'm just still not seeing the capabilities, especially on the toughest laser jammers or laser guns, even with the TMG and with the Escort and everything else. I'm seeing some changes with the laser guns, kind of like what DragonEye is doing. We're seeing some other changes from Stalker, from LTI and whatnot, and I'm not seeing TMG be able to sufficiently keep up with these newer laser guns and the updates and stuff, the way that I'm seeing from ALP. So I know all the attention typically goes to the DragonEye, but we're seeing some just cat and mouse game, right? Manufacturers continue to change and update their guns, and we're seeing that kind of stuff too. So this is something where I'm pretty clear on like ALP, this is the way to go. There's other jammers that are out there, but when it comes to like really giving you the best jamming capabilities, it's hard to recommend something other than the ALP. So yeah. Let's see. GJS 34711. I'm happy with the Redline 360C here in Florida, but the K-band blips are very frequent. I'm running auto-locate. I'm almost ready to shut down K-band. Is that wise? I have heard reports of K-band being used in Florida. Yeah, Todd Childs. No, don't cut out K-band in Florida. It would be nice, of course, to be able to turn off K-band, but in a lot of parts of the country, unfortunately, that's not able to do safely. I have heard of a couple people turning off K-band because of this exact reason in Florida, but it's risky, especially depending on where you drive, because K-band is definitely still in use there. So just be careful doing that. Dwayne Kios? Dwayne K. I live in Canada and have the unit in R7. It's nice to have the LiDAR sensor because they use it in Edmonton. Yeah, they definitely use laser there. And the R7 just had an update recently. I think 1.33 added VPR detection stuff. I know the laser sensitivity on the R7 is not as good as what you'll see on like the V1 or something, but I guess nice to have it. You might as well. But really, laser jammers are going to be the way to go. I know Edmonton, they shoot laser front and rear laser detection is really tough for any radar detector. So you're going to want a set of ALPs, especially in Edmonton. But sure, I mean, I guess it's nice having it in the R7 too. Might as well. Florentine, Stellian, how do you set up the ALP to automatically turn off jamming after 3 to 4 seconds? Good question. It's one of the options in the settings. When you go to ALP's website, either from your computer or you go through your phone and go through the app, there's an option there where you can shut off the laser jammer shutoff time. And it's just one of the options that are there. You enable jamming and then you choose the auto kill. I think it's called like auto LID jamming or something is the name for it. Automatic laser interference detection or whatever. Just take a look in the settings and you'll see the option there. You can always take a look at my ALP setup guide and it goes through and explains all the different menu options and stuff, which I think I still need to go back and update just because new features have come out or they've changed names and settings and options and stuff. But yeah, it's just on the webpage. You change it there. CK, when is the next R7 firmware update coming out? I don't know. I can tell you Uniden is very interested in getting the update released. I don't want to go into detail about the status of the current update, how good it is, things that I'm finding and stuff, just whatever. But I'll just say that Uniden really wants to get this stuff out, just like you guys really want to receive it. So when they release it, if it's going to be the latest version that we're testing now, it'll be another version based on the feedback that we're giving them now. I don't know. But one thing I've been finding, especially with COVID, is like, quit trying to predict the future. So things come out whenever they come out. I have no crystal ball. I don't know when it's going to be. So that's what I can tell you. John Merriman, wondering if you have any ideas for how to mount a detector in a Tesla Model S with only the small area of the windshield that doesn't block radar. I only need KA for New York State Troopers. Yeah, usually the way to go when you have a detector that is going to go in the little cutout in the windshield is you just mount it right behind the cutout. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. So if that's what you need in a Tesla and you do have one of those windshields that blocks radar, unfortunately, you're just going to have to mount this right in that little window, the little cutout on the windshield. And I mean, not much else to say, I guess. That's just where you put it. So something I've been curious about is I don't know if like the other windows also would block radar, and would that prevent the rear antenna in your detector from being able to detect radar and making your arrows not function properly. So I'm really curious if you wind up doing it. Let me know if your arrows specifically work properly or not. I'd be really curious to hear about that. If anybody else has tried it, let me know too. Dan McGuire, K-band is used by the park rangers in most national parks. I think you're talking about California specifically. But yeah, I've heard that too. K-band seems to be really rare in California. I hear about it sometimes with the park rangers or in certain places around the Bay Area and stuff, but it seems to be mostly KA. I don't know about New York. It would be nice to like memorize the entire US of what's used and where, but I know some of the more popular places, I guess. California, New York, Florida, Georgia, Washington, bigger stuff. Yeah. 100 subscribers with video. Oh, fun question. What if you get pulled over and a cop sees that you have a radar detector? What would happen? Sometimes they point and laugh and like, I got you. Your radar detector didn't work. It didn't save you, right? I've heard of cops having that reaction. I've heard of them sometimes not giving you a warning. They may give you a warning, but if they see the detector, they're like, now you're a detector. That was your warning. I'm going to give you a ticket. So I have heard of that happening as well. I've heard of cops who just don't care at all. And they're just like, whatever, detector or no detector, I'm going to treat you all the same. So cops are people based on what they think and how they approach it. They're going to see things differently. So case by case basis, I guess. If you guys have ever been pulled over with the detector, let me know in the chat kind of your experience. Did the cop care? Did they say anything? Did they ignore it? Did that affect the way they treated you or what they did as far as a ticket? So maybe let me know in the chat if you've actually had that experience. Let's see. All the blind spot monitors. Okay, so Ford V8 Forever. If all the blind spot monitor frequencies were cut out or turned off, would it also turn off some valid police radar frequencies as well? Yes, and that's one of the risks of using some of these features that just cut out certain ranges of K-band frequency. I think, so the Honda is at 24,168, or the Mazda is at 24.124, 123. Those are right where you're going to have traditional police radar. And so that's one of the risks of like trying to notch out those frequency ranges. I mean, police radar guns are 24.125 plus minus 100 megahertz, or 24.150 plus minus 100 megahertz. So, I mean, they can vary. I've got some radar guns that are 24,080, some that are 24.100 something, some that are up at 24.200 something. I mean, they can be all over the spectrum. And yeah, trying to cut out K-band with these different filters can be effective for sure. And if you don't have a lot of K-band in your area, that could be a way to go, but it's not the most intelligent approach, because yes, you can be potentially blocking some of the legitimate police radar frequencies. It's a very simplistic method of trying to filter false alerts. So let's see. Jason B, I've been pulled over by Washington State Patrol for a license plate thing, and they gave me a warning. I had an R3 up, and even though he sniped me with my speed, I wasn't speeding now. So, okay, I guess still gave you a warning. That's cool. Simo Karki, I had a Nevada State Trooper write down the model number of the brand new V1. Other than that, nothing was said. Interesting that he wrote it down. I didn't know that he did that. Let's see. I'm just kind of like skimming through the other stories of what people are saying. Mark and the Wolf. A cop asked me why I was doing 116 in a 65. I responded that I forgot to plug the radar detector in, and he laughed at me. Okay. And they didn't say anything about it, but just got a warning. Oh, this is for the license plate thing. Okay. Yeah. Well, I guess that's a funny way to respond. I'm glad the cop, I guess, had a sense of humor. Yeah. Michael H. My R3 literally just saved me 5 minutes ago, and this pops up. Good. Congratulations. I'm glad to hear it. Gave you the save. It's a great detector for the money, for sure. Here's a fun question. Jersey Wraith. What's the average kill zone in feet for the average K and KA band radar gun? Man. Okay. So kill zone detection distance can vary with the radar gun. Some radar guns, just like radar detectors, are better at actually measuring vehicles at a distance, number one. Number two, vehicle size can have a big impact. I've just been running the Ranger Easy. 2 different antennas. One antenna does a better job of picking up vehicles at a distance for the exact same radar gun. Both of them are K-band. So antennas can make a difference. Big vehicles, I could pick up a truck at 700 yards plus, whereas for a car, maybe I can only pick them up at 300 to 400 yards. For a motorcycle, it would be closer still. Why? The bigger the target, the bigger the reflection, the bigger the radar cross-section, so to speak. So bigger reflections are going to be easier to pick up at a distance. Smaller cars are going to be picking up closer. Long, flat straightaways, in theory, you could be picking some of these things up a mile away. You get into places where you have hills and curves and things that can block the radar signal, your kill zone for the exact same radar gun against the exact same car, maybe a couple hundred feet. So that's one of the tough things, because vehicle size can vary. Radar gun will vary. The terrain will vary. And so it'd be easy to say like, oh, you can pick it up a mile away, or it could be half a mile away, or it could be 300 yards away. But like, this stuff is so variable that there's just not a simple way to answer something that's a great question and a very simple question. But kind of like with radar detectors, maximum detection distance can be highly variable. So that's always a fun question of like, how do you give a really simple answer to a simple question? But the answer itself, to be accurate, is not simple. So that's maybe the simplest way I can answer that. Hopefully that's sufficient. It varies. MV Patron, any known causes of MRCD falses? Some door openers, and a lot of times some false alerts. I noticed some Fords, for example, can be a common source of that. Certain modulated radar signals that are being used for blind spot radar and a collision avoidance system can also trigger sources for modulated radar sources like the multi-radar CD or CT. So those are going to be some of the most common sources that I see. I know for myself, when I turn it on, there's like a door opener that I pass every time that triggers multi-radar falses on a lot of detectors, especially Unidens. It happens. Let's see. You guys are asking, I guess, false reports of laser alerts. I actually did a video specifically about false laser alerts on the R3. Certain cars with laser, I know, what is it? Volvos, Infinities, and what was the other one? I think some Mazdas, like CX-5s, can cause false alerts, especially on V1s. I've seen some neon signs can cause false laser alerts. I've seen the sunlight kind of filtering and streaming through the trees, like through the leaves. That can cause false laser alerts. There's just a variety of things that can cause false laser alerts. I find laser jammers do a much better job of analyzing the signal and filtering out false alerts. Radar detectors are much more simplistic in their laser detection and analysis, and so you're going to be getting more false alerts on that. And for that reason, a lot of times if I run detectors that false more on laser, I wind up disabling laser detection and just relying on the laser jammer instead. But I know the argument. If I want my radar detector to alert me to laser and let me know when it's time for me to pull over for a ticket, cool. Or I've had my detector save me from a ticket with laser, great. Whatever works. But yeah, the filtering is definitely worse on a radar detector. Let's see. The only time I've had an MRCD hit on my R7 is when I went past an accident scene. Yeah, I'm curious what was causing the false there. Interesting. Maurice Baker, my 2019 Hyundai Santa Fe, the Ford collision avoidance system constantly alerts my R7 to K-band 24080. It's irritating. Interesting. I don't typically see false alerts from Hyundais, but I guess if you're in the vehicle, yeah, that may be a different story. I think I actually test drove a Hyundai. I don't know if it was that model year Santa Fe. I think it was okay. But I know the issue was actually mounting laser jammers in the Santa Fe grills. I know the latest redesign caused some issues and stuff. It was a little funky and stuff. But yeah, that's interesting. That's a good report. I didn't know about that. Nicholas, I'm seeing more MRCD alerts every day. I'm seeing them on I-95 in New York, New Jersey, and Delaware. Yeah, I've heard in Canada, I believe, they've started using multi-radar on the highways, but I don't know if that's been done in the US yet. If anybody has seen like multi-radar photo radar bands being set up or like on the side of the highway or in the vans in the US, let me know. I don't know if I've actually seen that in the US too. Jason B, my 2019 Hyundai constantly false alerts to the R3 on K-band 2. Okay, yeah. So it looks like this is a thing. Yeah, it's like my sister just bought a 2020 Hyundai Tucson. Let's see. My GMC Sierra alerts my V1 Gen 2 on KA constantly around town. Interesting. Do you know what frequency that is? Hopefully it's a frequency that you can just kind of notch out with custom sweeps, or what is it? Custom frequencies on the V1 is what they call it. That could be a solution too. I wonder if that's kind of like K-band overdriving or K-band harmonics or something, because I don't think GMCs actually emit Ka-band specifically, but you may be able to use custom frequencies to kind of notch out that frequency if it's on a funky frequency range. Dwayne, hey, thanks for the super chat thing. So what's the latest for Redenza Theo release date and possible price? I have no idea. I have my guesses. So as far as price, we know it's going to be more expensive than any other radar detector currently available, $750. But they've also said it's going to be less than $1,000. So we know between $750 and $1,000. Is that still the case? I believe price stuff has gone up just due to COVID supply chain issues and parts availability. I believe the pricing has gone up. So I'm hoping it's still going to be under $1,000. Maybe $899, maybe $999. I don't know. I'm sure once Redenso is ready to announce it, they will. As far as availability, they've posted that, they've done the video on their website like a month ago or something of just talking a little bit more about this stuff. And yeah, it's just COVID stuff, which has caused problems for them and for pretty much every radar detectors company in different ways. Everybody's had issues with customer service, part supplies, repairs. I think Escort has finally opened up their repairs again. I just noticed one of my arrows are burned out on my Max 360. My display is burned out on my Escort IX, and then one of my M1s, focusing issues and stuff. So I need to send a couple stuff back. So I think I need to do that. But yeah, with Redenso, we're all still waiting on that. Bruce, so this is a fun one. Why would the iPhone 12 Pro wake up, sets off laser alerts, and the Max 360, not the R7? Laser filtering? I actually thought about doing a video about this, and this is one of the things where I've just been swamped. But I spent some time. I've got the iPhone 12 Pro 2, and it has the laser sensor right there, the laser thing. And yeah, it causes some detectors to false when you're pointing it at the detector. And then also sometimes the face stuff here when you're trying to unlock can also trigger false alerts on some detectors, but not others. The solution for this is just to move the radar detector so it can't see the phone. So if you do this, for example, or that, it can cause it to false. You're just going to have to reposition stuff so it doesn't see the LiDAR emissions. So that seems to be the source. But to answer your question of why that happens, laser filtering, can they recognize this is a an iPhone 12 Pro laser module and not a laser gun? I guess not. So that seems to be what's going on there. What is the best radar detector available? Best radar detector for Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Simple question without a simple answer. V1 Gen 2, Redline 360C, or Uniden R7. Those three. I've got a video that goes over all those three in detail. You can search for it, like best 3 radar detectors of 2020. Search on my channel for that, or just head over on my website and I go into detail comparing those. That stuff will change after a while. Like the Redline 360C had some updates for the MRCD now works properly. The V1 Gen 2 had some improvements. One had a bug for like some K-band stuff. That's been fixed. The R7 at some point is going to get auto lockouts whenever that finally comes out. So that's going to change. But just take a look at the video. Take a look at the website. I go into all that information in detail. Great question. Simple question. Not a simple answer. Let's see. My V1 saved me twice from laser by sheer luck. Yeah, that's the thing. And I guess that's always one of the fun things. It's kind of like buying lottery tickets. Like, yes, you can win the lottery, and people can and have and will. And if you buy a lottery ticket, you can win too. But it's just not a reliable, consistent way to give you protection. It's rare, even though, yes, it can happen. And it's just like, do you want to depend on something that's going to save you 1% of the time or 99% of the time? Making up numbers. And that's kind of the difference between radar detector versus laser jammer. It's like, you can win the lottery with laser, or you can make money by buying a lottery ticket, but it's just not going to be a way that you can really rely on it. It's not good financial planning. And same thing with laser. It's like, just get a laser jammer. Like, come on, just get a laser jammer. Quit messing around. Caden Watt, preferred hardwiring kit for radar detector, specifically the R3. 3 options. Number 1, power only cable that wires into your fuse box. This is super simple. Just cable tucks around into your fuse box, up your headliner, and plugs into the radar detector. Cool. Second option, plug it into the rearview mirror, into the mirror tap. If you have a powered rearview mirror, it makes the wiring super simple. So just plug it into 2 cables on the back of the rearview mirror. Cable runs out and plugs into the R7. Great. Third option is kind of like the first with the hardwire cable that runs into your fuse box, but the benefit is you get a little box that kind of mimics what you get with the power cable. So it's going to give you the same sort of thing with like a remote mute button and the little alert LED. So if you want to be able to mute the detector without having to reach up to the detector, you can take this little plastic box, install it somewhere that's kind of accessible, and just get a remote mute button to mute the detector, to manually lock out signals, things like that. So if you want that, Uniden sells a hardwire cable. I think it's like 25 or 30 bucks. And it gives you a remote mute button. So that could be another option. Those are your 3, I guess. Tesla, are you investing in GameStop? Man, I've been following that constantly. That's been super interesting. All the GME stuff. I was playing Among Us the other day. I even had that as my username. But I don't know. I mean, I'm actually going to be talking to my brother about that, going into detail after this call. But man, that is an interesting topic with what's going on with all the financial stuff. I'm curious about you guys. Has anybody been buying calls on it? Are you like selling naked puts? Are you just buying it GME straight up? When did you get in? I'm kind of curious about like everybody's thing. I've heard of some people getting out. They think that, they think maybe it's hit the cap and the government's going to prevent it from capital from going bankrupt and stuff. But it's interesting. Monday is going to be interesting, kind of getting into all that. I've got money in AMC and Nokia. Mark, I use Robinhood. Man, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully you can get out and switch over to something else. But yeah. So this is the kind of stuff that's fun to talk to. I know it's not really like the point of this channel, but yeah, that's obviously fun stuff to talk about too. So let me know in the chat what you guys are doing too with that. Dwight Green, how good is the BSM filtering the DFR7? It's okay. It's funny. I sometimes hear people say that it's quieter than the R3 and stuff just because it's less sensitive. But I also don't run it that much. I run it from time to time. I don't know why that thing hasn't been discontinued yet, but I think it's just companies want it and they make them in small batches. And that's what I've heard when I ask about that. But it's supposed to be discontinued, but it's supposed to be in that for like 2 years. John Check. Hey, thank you, John, for the super chat donation. I appreciate that. Thank you. Last year, about a Tesla Model Y, the performance 0 to 60 was 3 seconds. First thing was I bought a unit in R7 on Amazon for $400. It's been a year and I haven't had a ticket yet. Awesome. That's fantastic. I'm really glad to hear that it's been treating you well. And it sounds like you got a Model Y with a windshield that doesn't cause issues. So that's great. I'm really glad to hear it's been treating you well. Do you have laser jammers in your Tesla yet? I'm Kind of curious to hear kind of like the setup that you got in your car, or a dash cam. Curious what you're running. Dwight Green, 139 on eBay. I know that is stupid cheap. It's hard to find anything to compete in that price range. 139 bucks for DFR7. All day long. All day long. That's great. Professor R. Cook. So this is an interesting question. It's something I've been thinking about too. How important is it that the rear detection on the red line has a clear line of sight out the rear window? I presume you mean the Redline 360C with the rear antenna right there. So typically fairly important, but I have done some testing with the lower mount and it's slightly blocked by the headrest, and I've seen the arrow still work out okay with a variety of different detectors. So I guess ideally you'd mount it out high so you can see out the back, but I've seen in many situations it works out with the lower mount too, which is what I do for videos and stuff. But I guess the optimal situation would just be mounting it up high. Michael, love your content, man. Keep it up. Yeah, man, happy to help. Glad to hear you're enjoying this too. Thank you for the super chat donation. Let's see. Tesla detector. Once I get the plaid model, I'll put everything to the car. You'll need it with their sub 1.99, 0 to 60 times. that was cool. But are you getting the one without like the shift selector? That they're going to be removing that, so you can't like manually switch it between drive, neutral, and reverse or something. I have no idea how that's going to work, but that's all right. I hope that works out, Elon. I mean, obviously you must have thought about that to remove something so fundamental, but I'm curious to see how that works out. So. Yeah. Let's see. How good is the laser jammer on the Redline 360C? So the Redline 360C doesn't have a laser jammer. It has a laser detector. Escort traditionally with their radar detectors, their laser sensitivity and filtering is pretty good. I usually give the laser sensitivity award to the V1s, the Gen 1 and the Gen 2. Escort would be next. It seems to be a little bit better balanced. The sensitivity isn't quite as good, but the filtering seems to be better. And then things like your Unidens will be kind of at the bottom in terms of sensitivity. That's usually how they rank. But again, laser jammers are necessary. You can run any laser jammer with any radar detector, kind of, with the exception of some of the Escort ones. I guess some of the K40 ones too. But Escort has their own laser jammers, which I guess you can integrate with this. I've done a video recently that talks about all this stuff in detail. Typically, I say go for the ALP. You can get the Escort laser jammers and have it integrate with your radar detector if you want everything to show up here on the display and you don't want like a secondary controller or something, which can be kind of nice. I have it set up that way in my wife's car. So there's benefits to doing it. And I go into all that kind of stuff in my my video about it. Kind of search for the best laser jammers of 2021, and it goes into all that stuff in detail. Best detector for back road driving, very rural wooded areas. I got 2 tickets in the past 6 months. Good question. So honestly, if it's just back road stuff, save your cash and grab a Uniden R1. You can get it now for like less than 200 bucks. My daughter waking up? See her moving around on the camera. If so, I might need to go, but hopefully she's just moving. Under 200 bucks, fantastic performance for the money. There's no arrows and there's no GPS stuff. So you're not going to get good false alert town or filtering around town. But if it's just back road driving, go to my website, find the link for the R1, pick it up. It's under 200 bucks all day long. Otherwise, you can get something like an R7 for 400 bucks or this for 500 bucks if you want the arrows. But like back road driving, just go grab an R1. Jay Cotty, is the Valentine radar detector a good radar detector? Yes, it's excellent. I love my Gen 2, absolutely. I don't like the lack of built-in GPS and the fact that you have to tie it into your phone for some of the basic features. For other people, it's no problem at all, and they're super happy running it. So it really depends on your setup and kind of the way you go into that. I go into that as well in my videos in a lot more detail. That if you take a look at best 3 radar detectors of 2020, find that video and you'll skip towards the end. And I go into a lot more detail about my setup and why I primarily run this for road trips only when I'm taking the time to set up on my phone stuff, but I don't run it day to day because of some of the issues for iPhone and Android and trying to just make it automated and smooth. I tend to run the Redline 360C for that reason. So George M, do you think it's worthwhile to upgrade the V1 first gen? Yes. Yes, the performance is better. The blind spot filtering is much better. I'm not sure I'm completely sold on the new buttons on top instead of the dial. I do miss the dial, but the performance and especially the blind spot filtering, very worthy upgrades. Plus having the Bluetooth built in is nice. I mean, you can just do the external Bluetooth module, but yeah, I think it's worth it. I would recommend it. Taylor Swift. Hey, what's up, Taylor? My rear view on my VFO A129 is not displaying or working properly. Do you mean the camera is not working? Or do you mean like if you try to show the rear cameras on your front camera display, that's not working? I'm not really sure other than just maybe try reseating the cables and otherwise contact VFO for tech support. I'm not really tech support stuff so much, but those are maybe the things I would try. Just double check the cables, make sure it's connected well. And yeah, I would try that. Robert, has Escort fixed false alerts for the Max 360? Define fixed. It falses just like every radar detector on the planet does. I mean, it's one of the better in terms of filtering, and they've added the K-notch feature to help with a lot of the Honda and Acura falsing. So you can always turn that on if you haven't already. Just make sure you update the detector, turn on K-notch, and it'll help with some additional blind spot filtering. But it's still going to false just like every detector will. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're all kind of waiting on VIA to see if it is able to deliver on that no BSM false filtering. And I believe it will, but man, we still got to get this thing to come out, you know? Roger Dunn. Hey, what's up, Roger? Good to see you here. So yeah, no K-band needed in California. Turn it off. Toy to Iffy. What's your opinion on the DFR9? Thinking about getting my mom one. Fine, depends on the price. So let me grab these real quick. We'll talk about that. So where is it? DFR9 versus, let's grab all these. R3. Okay, so here's thoughts on DFR9. It's usually sitting around $250 or something. I don't know what it is on Amazon. I think this needs to be $199 or less in order for price-wise to be good. And the issue is you can still get this, the DFR7. I know somebody was mentioning for like $139 on eBay right now. You can still get this, like half the price of this. Same detector, just with like the new one has a color screen and a few small changes in features and stuff. But like until this thing completely goes away and this drops in price, I'm not super sold on the DFR9, especially because this thing is going down to the point the R3 and the DFR9. A lot of times you can find them similar in price. And if this is $30 more, the R3 and the DFR9, I'm like, don't get this thing. So this is in a really weird spot between the DFR7 and the R3 to where most of the time I think it doesn't make sense. There you go. DFR9. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, it's currently $175 on Amazon. Yes, at that price point, go for it. But that's, I think, where it needs to be to make sense. Otherwise, yeah. And if it's there, I'd probably start recommending this over the DFR7 because this thing is going away. And yeah, it makes sense for 179 or what was it, 175? I think at that point it makes sense. So, toy to Iffy. You're welcome. Yeah, so I guess that's the DFR9 talk. That was a great deal for the R7 for 360. Yeah, that was nice. Sold out in minutes. Broker 205. Hey, thanks for the super chat donation. So your question, should I upgrade to an R3 or an R7 from an old Redline? Yes, it's going to be better in just about every way. I mean, this is going to give you similar, if not better performance than the Redline. I like the Redline's alert tones better, but definitely better blind spot filtering. Plus, you've got the GPS to keep it quiet in town. You've got the MRCD stuff. I mean, one of the reasons why this was so amazing when it came out is because it basically clobbered the Redline in every single way, added more features, and was cheaper. So that was really what kind of lit up the R3 when it first came out. And it's been phenomenal ever since. Yeah, more updates and improvements that have come out even since it first was released. Then as far as the R7, if you want the arrows, yeah, all day long. I mean, get the R7 instead. I think it's worth it. I don't really run my R3 anymore because I've got the R7. I like the R3. And when I go back to it, I feel like, well, special detector. Like, I really like this detector. And I like the fact that it's smaller than the R7. The R7's wider and bigger. I really like this thing. I just don't run it much anymore because it doesn't have the arrows, and the R7 is going to have support for auto lockouts versus the R3 is not, just due to a lack of memory built into the R3. So R7 just better long-term buy plus the arrows. If you can spring the R7, and I know I've been posting on Facebook like R7 is, there's sales and stuff going on. I think it was 361 or something the other day, and it sold out like that. So yeah, it's great. I mean, even $100 less than the V1 Gen 2. Like, it's hard to kind of go for something else in the bang for the buck category when Uniden is kind of dominating that. Let's see. Haywood, I tested a DFR9 in 2019 against K-band in highway mode. as sensitive as I can make it. The R3 had around a 5,000 foot advantage over the DFR9. Yeah. I mean, for sure, it is a more sensitive detector, different platform, better sensitivity. That's a big difference. Plus, it has the MRCD capabilities that DFR9 doesn't. Oh, this is fun. George M. My used vehicle purchase came with a Lidetech radar jammer. You probably mean laser jammer, I'm guessing. As well as a V1 Gen 1. Any experience with Lidetech? So I haven't tested it personally. It's an older laser jammer. It's a brute force laser jammer. Their story was pretty funny if you go back and read it. I don't know if you have like the LE10 or LE20. Long since discontinued. It was basically a brute force jammer that was pretty effective against some of the old laser guns. It threw jam codes like crazy. I don't think it's effective against some of the newer laser guns, though. So nowadays, you're going to want to upgrade to something better. But that was a fun jammer. It was a fun jammer back in the day. Let's see. And then as far as V1 Gen 1, fine. Yeah, Lidetech's super illegal. I don't know if it ever went through the eye certification stuff on that because it just transmits so much laser with the brute force stuff it does. But yeah, eye safety reasons too, probably best to like upgrade to something that's better for eye safety, which is almost anything else out on the market right now. Yeah. So, and as far as the V1 Gen 1, I mean, it still works. It's not a bad option. But there's newer options that are out there. I mean, I guess with the V1, if you have it already, sure, run it. You can always check to see what software version you have. Hopefully you have a newer version. And if you've got 3.892 or newer, you can get the Bluetooth module with it. If it's 3.894 or newer, it's going to have their latest blind spot filtering to help quiet it down. Still not going to be as good as the V1 Gen 2, but try pairing it with Bluetooth, run like JBV1 or V1 driver, and see if it's sufficiently quiet on K-band. If it's still too chatty, upgrade to a Gen 2 or get a different detector or something. But yeah. R7 for $150? Yeah, no, it's not 150. I got a brand new R7 for a guy on OfferUp for $230. Great. Yeah, if you can buy it used for $230, that's awesome. Taylor Swift bought her, I'll say, R7 used off eBay for $390. Great deal. I know they've been going new with full warranty and stuff for that price recently. But yeah, I mean, in the used market, it's cheaper than what they normally retail for, $420, $430 or something. Let's see. Cardin Watt. For laser jammers, is it better to install in the front or the rear? How much should I expect to pay for it? Looking to do as much of the work myself as possible. Great. So laser jammers, typically, at least here in the US, you're going to see it in the front. In some places, they also shoot a lot in the rear. In Canada, they also shoot a fair amount in the rear. Here in Washington, I've been shot in the rear several times. I've been shot in the front several times. Only a few data points, but I see about 50-50 front and rear. In some places, it's almost exclusively in the front. I mean, it really depends. Personally, my opinion is if you're going to go through the trouble of all this stuff, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And so I think it's probably best to install both front and rear. But obviously, that's expensive. Totally get it. And rear installation is a lot more tricky to have to run the cables through the vehicle, back through the rear hatch area, through the trunk, and additional mounting. Like, it definitely adds a lot more versus the front only is a lot simpler, and it's cheaper. But if you're going to be doing it yourself, maybe saving on labor costs, and you're comfortable installing rear and running cables and stuff, I'd say go for it. Collector, any idea on release date for the R7? I need to get like a magic 8-ball or something, or a crystal ball, because I don't have one yet and I can't predict this stuff. So maybe I'll have to get a crystal ball so I can start predicting this stuff, and we'll see if it's accurate. But I think at this point it's probably best to stop making predictions for this stuff, because I know Escort 4-second auto JTK, Uniden R7 auto lockouts, Thea release. When is this stuff coming out? We get told stuff and stuff happens. And I'm guilty of this too, thinking, hey, I'm going to shoot this video. I want to get this dash cam review video or dash cam comparison video. And it takes me months, sometimes years to get this stuff shot. And like, stuff just happens. So yeah, I don't know when it's going to come out. I'm sorry. I don't know. Hopefully soon. I'm hoping just like you guys for this stuff. ZBOC5. I saw an Indiana State officer shoot radar up people's tailpipes from a bridge several times last week on I-64. They'll do that, hiding on on-ramps, hiding on overpasses and stuff. And yeah, they'll be shooting people from behind. I see this for both radar and with laser. And for that reason, yeah, definitely helpful to have laser jammers in the rear. Oh, okay, yeah, you said shooting laser in the rear, not radar. Yeah, they definitely do this. They'll sit on ramps and boom, 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 shoot cars from behind, and then either chase you, or a lot of times they'll just get on the radio and there's another chase car half a mile up the road or something, and they'll radio to them. Just say it's a black Honda Accord, whatever, and here's the speed, and they report, and somebody else pulls them over. So again, it's better to have it and not need it. I mean, imagine spending all the effort and money and everything to install laser jammers and then just get popped from behind and get a ticket. So Cassius, best radar detector. Okay, so you're asking best radar for California. I'm assuming you don't mean radar guns. These are radar guns. I'm assuming you want a radar detector. Best radar detector for California. I know Matt Farah runs his V1 Gen 1. He was happy with that. I'd say probably get an R7, turn off X K-band, and pair it with a laser jammer. Because the R7s are going so cheap, you can run it with Ka-band only. Don't worry about GPS or MRCD or false alerts or anything. Find an R7 for under $400 and then pick up a laser jammer with the money that you save, because they definitely run laser in California. So instead of trying to go like crazy bananas with something like this, it's $500 or $750 or whatever. Save your money on these. Just pick up an R7 and then get yourself a laser jammer with the money that you save, and run Waze, of course. That's the way that I'd go all day long in California. So, and if any of you guys, I know there's some of you guys, Roger, you're here from California. You guys can give better information than I could, maybe more locally specific stuff, but that's what I would do if I was there. Let's see, Ford V8 forever. After I got my R7 and saw the arrows in action, I decided I never wanted to have another detector without arrows. I completely understand. It's tough sometimes going to a detector without arrows. You feel kind of blind. Bob Smith, why turn K-band off for California? Officers don't really use it much. You hear some reports here and there for some small towns or for park rangers and stuff, but it's almost exclusively Ka-band all throughout California. Judgment Day, who makes the unit in R7? It is manufactured by Attawave, a South Korean company who manufactures detectors for Uniden, K40, Rocky Mountain Radar. I think Escort and Cobra have some. Who's the other one I was just thinking? Redenso, Attawave, like the Redenso XP and SP, it's an Attawave company. They basically make radar detectors, and then other companies sell them as their own products. So it's sold as a Uniden product. Uniden does not make any of their own radar detectors in-house. They're all currently made by Attawave. So Rocky Mountain Radar. Yeah, the Rocky Mountain Radar Judge. If you take a look at it, the Judge 2.0, where is it? Where is it? This and this. I know I don't have them powered on, but if you look at these, you'll notice the similarities. Rocky Mountain Radar Judge and Redenso XP. The button layout is pretty similar. The displays are going to be very similar. I mean, obviously different products and different advertisements and that kind of stuff, but they're both Attawave-based detectors, even though this thing sucks and this thing's actually pretty good. So, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. It's funny, by the time I finish live streams like this, I have a desk full of detectors. I've got a bunch of detectors over here in the ground, and I got to go back and put everything away again. But Robert, is there a radar detector that's 100% made in America? Escorts, they like to do a lot of their manufacturing in like Philippines and stuff. Here's the Max 360C made in the Philippines. If I was to guess, I would say Valentine. I know they do a lot of their stuff in the US. I'm not sure if they probably source a lot of their parts from overseas. But I believe the development is in the US. They do a lot of the final assembly in the US. I don't know if every part is fabricated in the US. I'm assuming that they outsource some of their parts. If anybody knows more detail about that, but this is probably the closest thing, the V1, that you'll find is something that's completely built and designed and everything in the US. Tito Colon. Hey, what's up, Tito? In Puerto Rico, the island, they use the Stalker DSR-2X. Great, yeah, nice radar gun. I've got mine sitting right over there in the middle. I'd like to do a video on it at some point. Yeah, it's a pretty solid gun. 34/7 here in North America. I'm assuming it's probably also 34/7 in Puerto Rico. I think they use like 34.3 and stuff in some of the European countries, so it might be a different frequency, but it's very capable radar gun. Knox Gaming, can I turn off K-band in Georgia? No, they definitely run K-band throughout Georgia. I don't know like every city department and Georgia Highway Patrol and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure you guys in Georgia would be able to answer it better, but yeah, I believe they still use K-band in Georgia. And definitely Dragon Eye, because Dragon Eye is based out of Norcross, which is kind of funny. Yeah, definitely Georgia. Bob Smith. What's up, Bob? You ever thought about diving into thermal cameras for cars for night driving? Not really. I mean, I've looked at them casually on the side. I know they use them for like cannonballs, and there's a couple people in the forums who uses them. But no. I mean, at this point, I'm so overwhelmed with just the videos I've been trying to do, my core stuff with radar detectors. I've still got detectors that I need to do reviews on. I still got dash cams that I need to do reviews that I don't know if expanding to other stuff is really a smart idea when I'm just trying to keep up with my normal stuff already. So no, I haven't really messed with it too much. Judgment Day. Say, do you open detectors to see if different companies use different hardware? Yeah, I've done some teardowns and stuff. It's kind of fun. Like the K40 ones is the same thing as the DFR5 and DFR7. You can take a look at that. Same internals. They just make some small changes. Sometimes the features are a little bit different, but fundamentally the same hardware. And that's kind of interesting. The K40, what is it? The Platinum 100? Same thing as DFR7 and DFR9. But those detect MRCD, which then makes me wonder, like, when Attawave is going to add MRCD, if they do, to the DFR9. So I guess that's kind of up to Uniden if Uniden wants to pay for that feature to be added, or if they kind of want to keep R3 and DFR9 sort of split. So I don't know about that. Let's see. Alex A. Hope I didn't just trigger everybody's echo dots. Sorry about that. One model of Escort Redline radar detector detects police laser guns. So all of them can detect, all the red lines have a little laser sensor. If you look at the detectors, you'll see with the Escorts, it has this little thing. Escort calls it like a little periscope thing. Basically, it's designed in theory to detect rear laser shots, and then it funnels it down to the laser sensor, which is right in here. It kind of pipes it down. That's where the laser sensor is. Fun fact. Yeah, sorry for triggering your echo dot. So technically, they can all detect laser, but as I kind of went into more detail, it's not really that useful of a countermeasure tool. But they can all detect laser. The newer ones, I believe, have better like VPR detection technology to detect some of the newer laser guns. I don't know how well like the original Redline can do Dragon Eye detection or Stalker XLR or some of the True Speed stuff. But yeah, the newer ones seem to be pretty good with that. Tesla. Yeah, just shoot me a message on Twitter and we'll talk about video editing and stuff. And if it works out, great. I would love to have your help. Thank you. We'll talk more. Red Johnson. I live in Kentucky, trying to decide between R7 and V1 Gen 2. Which one would you recommend? Previously open to V1. Depends. I can always just say, I have a whole video. Maybe if you can give me a little bit more information, like if you have a V1 Gen 1, do you already run JBV1 or V1 driver? And do you already have the phone stuff set up? Do you need like the GPS lockout capabilities? I don't think Kentucky has MRCD. So I guess a lot of it comes down to like, do you need GPS built in, or are you cool with adding a phone? R7, it's $100 off compared to the V1 or more. So it's definitely the better bang for the buck. And not everybody wants to do the phone integration, but if you do, you'll get a pretty fantastic package. And the auto lockouts in a phone tend to be better than any radar detectors built-in auto lockouts. So you can get a really nice package if you pair it with your phone, which is a big appeal of doing the phone integration with the V1, but not everybody wants to go that route because there are some trade-offs and limitations, which I've definitely run into myself. 10 Ring. I just got the Redline 360C. Congratulations. Where do I find the most up-to-date list of bands that I need to turn on and off? Unfortunately, there's not a great resource for that. There used to be the RDFGS, but that stopped being updated a couple years ago, and so there's not a great resource for that. I would say maybe typically you're going to want to run X-band off unless you're in Ohio or New Jersey or some of the rural places, rural Oregon or whatever. Most people just run K-band and Ka-band. You can get into some segmentation, running segments like 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8. Nice way to go. That's kind of your standard recommendation, I guess, for the Redline. Take a look at like my Redline setup guide. It's on my website. And it goes into more information. If you'd like some local specific stuff, I would always say hop on the forums. And you can ask people who live and drive in your area, and they can give you much better local specific information about what the police use in your area, and talk about band segmentation and like super fine-tuned detail stuff. So take a look at my red line setup guide and hop on the forums. Those are going to be your best resources. Oh, water. Starting to talk here. My throat's getting dry. Yeah, daughter's still asleep. It's really nice. I'm glad. That way we're able to keep hanging out and chatting. George M. I know it might be antiquated technology, but if you used a CB, I haven't really messed with it. Huge antennas. I don't really want to listen to truckers. I watch videos with CBs and stuff. I know a lot of truckers have just switched over to even running Waze. It could be nice for vehicles, you know, asking if there's bears up ahead and stuff. I haven't messed with it too much. I guess kind of similar to scanners. Yeah, I just haven't messed with it too much. I've heard a lot of people kind of getting out of that and just switching to Waze or something. Most ham radios, you need a license? Sure. I mean, for scanners, not necessarily, unless you're like in New York. You do need your ham radio license. If you want to run a scanner in New York, I've got mine. But in most places, you don't need a ham radio license in order to run a scanner. Let's see. Unit is Attawave. Yep. Tony English. California is definitely using laser and KA. With the beam turned down very low, you're practically on top of the highway patrol. So there's no such thing as a radar gun where you can turn down the output power of the radar beam in order to get lower power. A lot of these radar guns have the ability to affect your range, but all that's doing is affecting the receive sensitivity of the radar gun. The output power is not adjustable by the radar gun, and it's always transmitting at full power, which is really nice for our radar guns. If you're running into situations where you see that you're like practically on top of the officer when they get their alert, that's going to be instant on. That's just when they're not transmitting. I'll use a handheld gun for the demo. They're basically not transmitting anything, and then only when they want to transmit and you get close, they squeeze the trigger and the radar gun alerts. And it's the same thing for like a dash mount gun where they just have it in hold, and then they press the button to start transmitting, and that's when your detector will go off. So it's usually more instant on stuff like that. Additionally, if they have maybe you're driving in this direction and the radar gun is pointing that way, that's also going to reduce your range. But then again, they're not going to be able to clock you because they're not even pointing at you in the first place. So, excuse me. I don't know. I got the whatever. But anyway, yeah, the directional stuff and the instant on are probably going to be your two biggest reasons why you'll see reduced range. But it's a super common concern. I see it all the time. People wondering about that stuff. The lower powered things are typically going to be for your multi-radar things, some of the photo radar, those ones specifically. Even something like the Stock Patrol or the custom, was it the Falcon HR and the Raptor RP1? Those are lower power too, but not to the range of your multi-radars and your Gatsos and what was the other one begins with the G? No, Red Flex. I was thinking of Red Flex, but that's not there either. Instant on usually comes up as KA band 2, and yeah, KA pop. Some detectors will alert to pop specifically, differentiating it from non-pop. Some detectors will just alert as like the V1s are just KA as KA as KA, whether it's pop or normal or instant on or constant on. So yeah, different detectors will actually present the information differently. Mark and the Wolf, do they run the MRCD on the interstates? Not to my knowledge in the US. I have heard reports of that being used in Canada, but I don't believe it's been used in the US. DJ Ochi, the best radar detector for Canada because they have radar scanners. Yeah, we mentioned that a little bit earlier. The Rodenso Pro M has been a popular choice because it's stealthy. It's got the multi-radar detection, good blind spot filtering, and relatively affordable. So that's going to be your go-to pick. The Redline 360C is now a more popular choice because the multi-radar is now functional with the latest update from our 1.6. But I think it's like probably twice the price or 50% more or something, the Rodenso. And then for something custom installed, the Rodenso RCM is typically your go-to. That way you don't have the box and the windshield visible to police. So those, from what I understand, are typically the three go-to options. Some people do like the Unit and R7 for multi-radar stuff, but that's usually for MRCT, I believe, more so than MRCD. Like in New York, for example, the R7's multi-radar stuff does better than the Rodenso and fewer falses. But then again, that's New York more than Canada. 392. I don't think the Redline 360C is available in Canada. I've heard Alex actually, he was getting it for pre-order. take a look. I think he sent out a couple. I don't know if he's shipping his Redline 360Cs yet. They say they're in stock on his website, so you can take a look there. I don't know if they're actually shipping, but looking on his website, it looks like he does have them. They're $13.50 in Canada, and let's see. I don't know if he sells the Pro M right now, or if you have to get it from like Visions or something. Looks like on his website, $698, so $700. It's on sale. And what about Visions? What do they sell the Pro M for? And so I'm kind of curious about Canadian pricing. I don't really know it that well. They're selling it for $750 as opposed to what, $13.50. So almost half price compared to the Redline. Yeah, Redline 360C is $13.49. Do they have it at Visions? Redline 360C? I don't know. Are they trying to sell? It looks like Escort is finally starting to sell the oh, good. Yeah, Redline 360C, $13.49 is at Visions. They're finally opening up. I've seen like, was it Apt is finally starting to carry it. I don't know if Amazon has Redline 360C yet. Are they selling it there? Don't see it there yet. So yeah, it looks like they're finally starting to open it up. But for a long time, they were only selling it direct, which I've got mixed feelings about. I kind of understand why they do that, but they're not really doing a good job of supporting their distributors and dealers with hot new products. They try to just sell it all directly to maximize their profits and stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Lewis, I'm going on a road trip to Virginia. Should I take my Detector or just send it? I'm not going to advocate running a Detector in a banned area, but I've seen a lot of people who do without issue. Just run maybe something stealthy, ideally. But I've heard people running V1 Gen 1s, which are very detectable, in Virginia for years without issue. So, yeah. But the penalty, I mean, it's less than $100. They don't confiscate. There's no points to your license or anything, so the penalty is pretty minimal. But yeah. 392 Adventures. I know there's a lot of questions that go by. Something that can help is if you guys do the super chat thing, it like flashes it on my screen here, and I'll make sure that I answer it. Just with everybody, I'm not going to be able to get to every single question, but that's definitely something you can do if you really want to make sure that I see it and I take the time to answer it. 392 Adventures. How does the ALP control a V1 Gen 2? I typically don't recommend it. Like, you can do V1 integration and stuff, but there's really no good reason to. I mean, windshield mount detectors are designed to be fully standalone and everything, as opposed to something like the Redenso HD Plus or the STIR Plus or the NetRadar DSP or whatever. It doesn't really make as much sense, and there's not really a huge benefit to it. And so pair it with your phone instead. It'll be much better than trying to integrate with the ALP. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really messed with it too much. I looked at it a little bit and I'm like, this is dumb. So yeah, don't really worry about the integration. Blue Wolf, best radar detector to use in Germany. No idea. I'm the wrong person to ask. I'm sorry. Things are so different in terms of laws, radar guns, frequencies, photo radar cameras, availability of different detectors, price points, international firmwares, international features. Like, things are so different over in Europe that I just can't give you good information for that. I'm sorry. I'm always asking to see if there's other people who do kind of similar stuff like I do for different countries in Europe. My German's not that good, so hopefully people would also do this stuff in English, but I would love to learn more. And I'm really hoping more people step up to give good information and testing and stuff for all the different countries in Europe, because things are so different everywhere. Yeah. Car Spear, next install detector. Hey, thanks. What do you mean by next install? Like, I know you've got the IXCI. Do you mean the next install detector for you, or the next one that's coming out? Or what do you mean by next install detector? It's interesting. Something I've seen, I guess coming back to the Germany stuff, I've seen some people who review detectors who live in like Israel, for example, but they don't cover Israeli detectors. They cover like American detectors without ever using the detectors or testing them or owning them or driving with them. They just kind of do like reviews. And a lot of that's because the American market is a lot bigger than I think maybe the Israeli market and stuff. And so it's funny, you see people who are in other countries who could do a great job of reviewing detectors in their countries, but they're reviewing in the US, I think just because of money. Even though they don't use the detectors, they can make more money pretending that they do or something. SEO guys, you'll see that a lot, just want Amazon affiliate traffic. But Yeah. Car Spear. I don't know of the next custom installed detectors coming out. I mean, it seems like Escort is pretty kind of committed to their current stuff. Stingers, I don't know if they're going to be updating. They kind of have the HD Plus antennas. Rodenso will probably do eventually a custom installed version of Thea, but that's not until way down the pipeline. I don't know what NetRadar is planning. K40 just has their Platinum 360 or whatever. So I don't really know of anything coming out in that regard, which I know is always a big question if you're looking at switching or upgrading, just because that's a big commitment to get something custom installed. So I really don't know of anything new in the horizon as far as custom installed stuff. RC, thanks for the super chat. So to get to your question, how do the ZR5 and ZW5 compare to the ALP? So performance-wise, ALP, no question. ALP has a bunch of additional features like your Pro Mode, your laser gun IDs. They're much better in terms of updates. They jam more guns. They jam all the same guns better. ALP supports up to 6, well, technically 7 heads. ZW5 and ZR5, you're technically capped at 4 heads. ZW5 only supports 2 heads in the front, so you're going to be kind of best optimized for smaller vehicles. It can, in some instances, do better, or it can do pretty well, surprisingly, on larger vehicles, but you're kind of limited with that. So ZR5 supports up to 4 heads, so you can do 4 in the front or 2 front, 2 rear or something. ALP is better for larger vehicles, better jamming, better updates, more useful features. The real only benefit that I can see of the Escort ones is if you really want something that integrates with your Escort radar detector, so you don't have an extra controller. Like everything just sort of, you can kill the jammers from here with the mute button. It'll display here on screen when you get shot with laser and stuff. So if you really want the integration with the Escort windshield mount radar detector, that's kind of the only advantage of that. The ZW5 also has an additional advantage of being wireless, so there's no cable to run through your firewall. Easier to install. Takes less time if you're hiring a professional. Some people are worried about drilling through their firewall. Whatever. I mean, I've done it even on a lease. It's totally fine. But it can be difficult on some cars, especially German cars. So ZW5 can just make it easier to install. So that's a benefit there. But for the most part, the go-to recommendation is the ALP. Selman Kokak had several tickets in Virginia going 90 to 55. Ouch. Man, they got pretty like stiff penalties for their for speeding in Virginia, don't they? I mean, how much were those tickets? Like, did you have to go to court or go to jail or anything? I thought they were pretty, like 25 over. Is it automatic jail time or something in Virginia? I forget. I know Jalopnik did an article about that. Virginia gives you jail time for 90 plus. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, let me know your experience with that. That's pretty stiff out there. They don't mess around in Virginia. Let's see. $80. Oh, yeah. So 80 is a speeding ticket for $800 in Virginia. Wow. George M., if you had to purchase one dash cam, what would you choose and why? I'm the wrong person to ask to buy one thing. I really am. I think probably for the one best dash cam right now across the board, ThinkWare U1000, just for the quality, that kind of stuff. It has some cool parking mode stuff too, and the rear camera is 2K instead of 1080p. Best bang for the buck, VFO A129 Pro. I like the black views for the cloud stuff, but the video quality just does not keep up with the VFO and the ThinkWare. And they got some weird quirks with the parking mode stuff, switching properly and all. If you go to my web, like if you look at the link in the video description where I say best dash cams, click on that and it goes into more detail about those three. So between ThinkWare U1000 or VFO A129 Pro would be my two kind of go-to picks. And then Blackview, if you really want the cloud stuff, Blackview DR900X or DR750 LTE, if you want the integrated LTE stuff, that'd be nice. Ooh, Virginia stuff, $1,500 for legal fees. Went to court, 6-month license suspension, $2,500. Maybe that's up to $2,500. Yeah, it's stiff in Virginia for sure. I got the R7, got caught with the radar, no warnings from the radar. How come? I don't know. It should be pretty good. Did you have like band segmentation enabled? R7 is pretty fantastic when it comes to quick trigger. I don't think that was the issue. Are you sure that they hit you with radar and not with laser? Maybe they should say on the ticket what you got hit with. Because this laser, I could totally understand. Radar, it should be pretty good at alerting, unless he was doing something with like Vascar, perhaps. Maybe that's what he was using. So he was using his radar gun, but not transmitting radar. That's a possibility. Maybe he's using his radar gun just for like pacing or something. So I'm going through the chat. $1,500 for a good lawyer in Virginia. Anywhere from $300 to $2,500 for court fees. 20 over is reckless driving. Also 80 plus is reckless. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so coming back to George, your question about why the R7 didn't go off when it was laser. Yeah, super common. Mine's in my car, so I'll just grab my R3 as a prop real quick. But the laser sensors, I mean, they're not very sensitive. And I mean, the fact that this is in the windshield and the laser is going to be targeting your front plate or something, it's tough for these things to even pick up the laser signal in the first place. It is very common to get shot with laser and your detector never goes off in the first place, which is why you need a laser jammer to pair with your radar detector, no matter which radar detector you have. Waze will do a better job at defending you against laser than any radar detector will. So if you don't have laser jammers yet, run Waze. And even if you do have laser jammers, run Waze. Waze is not a replacement for laser jammers, but it is definitely better against laser than any radar detector is. So I would say definitely run Waze and get yourself a set of laser jammers in the meantime. We've been talking throughout this video. Take a look at my website with the comparison of different options. Typically, my recommendation is the ALP. Go get that. Make sure you install it properly, and that'll get you the laser protection too. So, 116 ticket. Wow, that's a stiff ticket. Yeah. Sure, that was no fun doing 116. Wow. Let's see. I have 9 pending tickets. How do you still have a license? How does that work? Wow. Okay. I'm not an expert in all that ticket stuff and the license aspect and whatnot. But wow, I'm surprised. I didn't know it works that way. I thought they would suspend after you have so many tickets or something. Bob Smith, is the R7 dash mount good enough? It's a fantastic detector. Are installed detectors that much better? So this is an interesting question about the installed stuff. The installed is not necessarily better performance or better filtering. The really big benefit of the custom installed is the integration and not having a box on your windshield. So if you don't want something visible to law enforcement, to potential thieves, or even to you, you just don't want a box on the windshield, you want something cleaner and more integrated, don't go for this. Go for something custom installed. They're much more expensive than a windshield mount. I mean, you're talking to detectors that can be $2,000 plus installation versus something that's like $500-700, something like this, and way easier to install. So it's not really so much the performance or the filtering, it's just the cleaner install. That's really what you're paying for the custom installed stuff. But otherwise, a lot of the technology is the same. You can go into details and say, like the Redenso, okay, the RCM has a little bit bigger antenna than the Pro-M. Cool. So the sensitivity is a little bit better. Great. And it also has the rear antenna available, so you can get the arrows, whereas the Pro-M can't. So yeah, there's differences there. But fundamentally, it's a lot of the same technology and capabilities and whatnot. Redenso Pro-M has an orange display. Redenso RCM has a white display. Cool. But I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff. Scott, cop left radar on while shooting laser. V1 Gen 2 gave 1.3 miles of KA with him sitting perpendicular on the highway. That's amazing. Was he shooting handheld or something? Like, where'd my Stalker 2 go? Did he have a dash mount shooting perpendicular, or was he actually shooting like out the side window like this, kind of like they typically do with laser? Because 1.3 miles I would not expect that if he's shooting perpendicular to you. That's crazy range. Shooting laser out the window. Okay. Yeah, in that case, I don't know why you got range that was that good. That's amazing to get that kind of range at a 90-degree angle. Wow. In that case, good job, V1 Gen 2. Props to you. So yeah, that's amazing. Coffee, is there an update coming for the R7? Yes. When will it come out? Don't know. Hopefully soon. Uniden wants it to come out soon. But I don't know when they're going to actually do it. Scott, I kept the video. Yeah, post it on the forum so we can take a look at it. And everybody can kind of we can take a look and see what you saw, do some analysis, or just appreciate it. AZ Bird Gang, have you reviewed the V1 companion app on iOS? No, I haven't. There's no auto lockouts, which is why I haven't run it. I mean, I beta tested it. I've run it. I've that kind of stuff. It's fine. It's okay as like a simpler option. I think I've talked about it in videos. I don't think I've done a dedicated video on it. Maybe I have. I don't know. But without auto lockouts, I run V1 driver, and I don't know. I kind of look at it like the Comic Sans MS font or something, and I'm just like, it's kind of whatever. I mean, yeah, I run V1 driver for that, and I also get like that Apple Watch stuff. I'm not sure if V1 Companion has Apple Watch integration. It might. Forget off the top of my head, but yeah, I just run JBV1 for Android primarily if I'm running it, and if I'm on the iPhone, I'm running V1 driver primarily for the auto lockouts. I like some of the alert logging stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Robert, is it possible to run more than one detector in your vehicle? Possible, yes. Good idea. Generally, no. Detectors will kind of false to each other and cause issues. There are some combinations that can play well. I do it sometimes, maybe a custom install detector in the grill and like a windshield mount detector. Try to do like maybe blind spot filtering comparisons and stuff. I've tried to do it, but it's just not a good idea. So just run one detector. I know people will sometimes do it, like the V1 Gen 1 and original Redline was a popular combination to run. Redline for the range, V1 for the arrows. You typically get the Redline to alert first, and then the V1 jumps in later to give you the directional information. That, for whatever reason, they seem to play pretty well together without causing a lot of interference, but that's a pretty rare combination to see. So I generally don't recommend it. I've got, I think, 2 videos on that exact subject. The first one, I think, is called The Most Common Mistake Radar Detector Testers Make, and it goes into this stuff, testing multiple detectors at the same time. And there's some videos about this. I'm not going to name names, but people test this stuff, and there's definitely issues. The second thing, I have a video that's kind of like in more advanced videos, and it goes into more detail about when you may want to do this, and I go into explanations of why I do sometimes run it. But it's kind of like you have to know the rules first in order to know how to break the rules and when to break the rules and why to do it. So you don't want to just blindly start running multiple detectors because they can and will start causing issues with one another. So let's see. Jason Scott. See, my locals have a guy with LiDAR and 2 others using KA. Yep. They must think that most don't have detectors. Yeah, I've been running radar lately, and there's definitely people who just blast right by you with obviously no detector, doing 20 over the limit or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to find people without detectors without having to resort to like instant on and stuff. And it looks like my daughter is waking up. And on that note, that may be my cue to go. So cool. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out, chatting radar detectors, chatting dash cams and laser and radar interference and GameStop and everything that we've been talking about here. So, yeah, I guess more stuff to come. I've got some stuff I'm working on with like the aero testing that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Eventually, the MPH Ranger that I posted about on social media, I'll get my video up on that. And so, yeah, I hope you guys are all having a great weekend and have an awesome week as well. And that's it for now. So take care. Thanks so much. And I'll see you later.